Hello and welcome to Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine. My name is Mary Bear Shannon. I am a reference librarian at the Haverford Township Free Library. And again, this is Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine for March 8th. Many of you know that the second Monday of every month is also our cookbook club. And so I am actually getting ready for our cookbook club, which is going to meet on Zoom tonight. And so I'm going to show you what I'm going to make for our club. Just a program note, we are actually moving Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine to once a month. It'll be always on the second Monday of the month. We are going to drop the second showing, the second episode of each month. It used to be on the fourth Monday, but we're just going to go to once a month. So you'll have to make sure to tune in. It's at 5 o'clock. Of course, right now it's 5:01. So you've got me on Facebook Live on the library's Facebook page. And that will be starting this month. We will be doing Kickin' Cooking once during the month on the second Monday of the month, which is, as I said, also the time that we do our cookbook club. If you are not familiar with our cookbook club, we usually pick, in non-pandemic times, we pick a cookbook, we all cook from it. We cook our recipes and we bring them to the library. Well, of course, we haven't been able to do that in the last year. So we have been cooking in our own kitchens, taking pictures, taking notes about what worked, what didn't work, and then meeting on Zoom. And it's definitely, I miss everybody's cooking. There are some amazing cooks in the Cookbook Club, and we want to invite you to join us. It is a really great group. We love to talk about food. We love to talk about eating. We love to talk about ways to get around issues with cooking. Of course, shortages has been an issue in the last year, given the, whatever time it is and what we're missing. That's also a good place to talk about what can I substitute if I can't find a certain ingredient. And again, that's always the second Monday of the month, and we meet at 6:30. You can always email me to get the Zoom link and join us. So this month, there are so many great new cookbooks that we have added to our collections. And of course, we are closed to browsing. So a lot of people are like, Mary, what are the great new cookbooks that you have? And so we decided this month to do Mystery Date with a cookbook. And so I sent out an invitation to everybody. People RSVP'd, and then I actually selected a brand new cookbook that had just arrived at the library. I put it on the person's account, and they had no idea what I was selecting for them. And so they are cooking from those cookbooks and are going to talk about what they cooked tonight. And like I said, we have some great cookbooks. We have a cookbook, it's called The Book of Pie. We have something called Dinner in French. I'm never sorry when I see a French cookbook. Dinner from BB's Kitchen, which I know was cooked from for tonight, which is actually African cooking. We have Nadia Hussein. I think she's a Food Network star. Time to Eat, Delicious Meals for Busy Lives. We have the latest America's Test Kitchen, just in time for, we hope, summer to come soon. The complete summer cookbook, one called The Japanese Table, the Honeysuckle Cookbook, and then the latest Jacques Pepin's Quick and Simple. So those cookbooks are going to come back soon. And if you would like them, please check out our catalog, put a hold on it, or just give us a call at the library. We are happy to put those orders in for you on your account. Once they are ready, you will get notified and you can come pick it up using our curbside service. So anyway, we are excited about, I'm excited to hear about everybody's experiences cooking from these cookbooks. And I wanted to tell you about my cookbook that I selected. And I was very lucky to get this. This has been out for about 3 or 4 months, but it has literally been out of the library almost the entire time. But I saw it on the shelf and I grabbed it. And that is Modern Comfort Food by Ina Garten. So Ina Garten, I don't necessarily, I'm not thrilled with her show, but I love her recipes. And the reason I love her recipes is that they're well tested. It's really clear that she spends a lot of time making sure and tweaking recipes to make sure that they come out they come out the way that she says it's going to come out. And so I grabbed this, and of course, modern comfort food. I feel like we're all looking to comfort ourselves. We've all been in basically in stages of lockdown for the last year. Of course, we're hoping that that is going to come to an end sometime in 2021 as more vaccine gets into people's arms. But I really enjoyed looking through this cookbook, and I'm going to show you one of the recipes that she talks about in this cookbook. So the recipe that I selected was something called baked raclette, and you may have never heard the term raclette. It's Raclette. It's either, you can either get, it's a cheese, and you can get it either from Switzerland or France. I think I read that there's 80% of raclettes come from Switzerland. I find that it's not normally in the grocery store, so you're going to have to go to something like Whole Foods or Carlino's or like a specialty cheese shop. The thing about baked raclette is that it is a cheese, or raclette itself, it's a cheese and it's a dish. And the reason I think this is in this cookbook on comfort food is that it's really a Swiss and French comfort food. It's kind of peasant food. And the term racler is actually means to scrape. And it was one of those things where you would kind of melt it and get it all gooey and kind of scrape it on things like bread or potatoes. It was totally a comfort food. It was one of those things that people ate. And I understand that it was kind of a fall food. I don't know. I think people eat it probably all the time, but this idea of eating ooey gooey cheese on either potatoes or bread, kind of in the fondue vein of things. But the one I'm going to show you today is actually using potatoes, but it is definitely kind of the French and Swiss version of comfort food. Like I said, raclette is a cheese and it is a dish. The cheese has kind of a thin or brownish orange colored rind and a pale yellow inside with a few and scattered open holes. I don't normally see holes in raclette. And it's a very distinct smell and flavor. It actually smells stronger than it tastes. And what I really like about it is it's kind of like Gruyere, but it doesn't separate when it's melted. So it really melts nicely. And it kind of has a nutty flavor. So I really like it a lot. And as I said, 80% of raclettes are from Switzerland. French raclettes are slightly softer with a smooth and creamy flavor. And as I said, it's also the name of a dish. So the other ingredients that I'm going to use today are something that you may or may not have come across. I think we see it more and more in the grocery stores here, and that's fingerling potatoes. And if you can imagine the word fingerling, they really do look like fingers. And they're kind of miniature long potatoes. They have kind of they have a very thin skin and a low starch content. They are soft and buttery. And I think it's perfect for this recipe because the cheese is so buttery too. And it has this really pleasant flavor. Like I said, you can't get raclette, you can't get fingerling potatoes everywhere. I found them at Whole Foods today. I don't always see them at Giant. I see them pretty regularly at Produce Junction, and of course that's probably the cheapest place to get them, is Produce Junction. They're more common in France, but they are kind of gaining strength here in the U.S. I see them more and more in the stores, but I don't see them everywhere. And then the other element is sausage, and this called for chorizo, which is a Spanish pork sausage, which is really spicy. And I just wasn't sure my family would appreciate the spiciness. They sometimes like the spicy, and then later they're like, oh, maybe that was a little too spicy. So I have substituted the sausage with a sweet Italian sausage. But I think you could probably substitute a bunch of different things. And I think you could probably use different meats. You could probably use ham in this. I've seen recipes for this baked raclette with like prosciutto and other types of meat. So I think you get creative with what you would put with the potatoes and the raclette cheese. So again, and then I said, and the last thing is the raclette is a cow's milk cheese. I wondered too, if people know more about cheese than I do, but I get the sense because this was from Europe, we were having some difficulties getting it here. And especially if it's not pasteurized, I think the US sometimes has a hard time allowing cheeses that are not pasteurized into the US. So that may be why it's difficult to find it as regularly as more American cheeses or other European cheeses, because I think you can get raclette and it's not pasteurized. So anyway, and then of course there's been kind of some embargoes on French foods in the last, or the French products or European products, but I'm not sure where that is at the moment. So if you know more about that, you should let me know, because sometimes I do struggle to find this cheese. So anyway, off to my kitchen, and I'm going to show you how I make baked raclette from Ina Garten's Modern Comfort Food. So here we go. Okay, so here we are, headed to my kitchen. Yes, I know it's a little dark there for a second. And now you're no longer going to see most of my face. You're going to see my middle section, but that's okay. I'm going to show you how I make this. So I've kind of done some things already to make this baked raclette. The one thing is I actually made going to do is we are going to cook our sausage. And again, I did not use chorizo. I used just a mild sweet Italian sausage, and I have been kind of heating up some oil here. You don't need to use much oil, just because I think the Italian sausage is fairly fat. We are going to drain off a good portion of this fat before we put these to bake, and that's what we are going to do. We are actually going to put these in little cute gratin pans. I actually just got them the other day. It's something I've always wanted, so I'm going to show you my latest purchase, of course, from Amazon. I'll show you how we actually put that together. So I am actually going to push this a little closer so you can see what I'm doing here. I am just cooking and browning this sausage. With chorizo, they suggested kind of cutting it on a diagonal. That was kind of difficult with this Italian sausage because it was a little softer. So I just kind of put it in smallish kind of chunks. And I'm just going to cook this now for about, I don't know, about 8 minutes, just until it's brown and all the way cooked through. So in the meantime, while that's cooking along, I'm going to kind of back us up here a little bit. And I'm just going to actually start to cut these fingerling potatoes. So as you can see, they're like fingers. They're small. Now I actually got kind of a medley of different colors. I think they're all pretty much the same, but these were like purple and this kind of rose colored, and then this is more like the white potato. There were mostly white potatoes in here, or kind of like a Yukon Gold, but I thought this would be kind of a nice colorful dish if I got the multicolored fingerling potatoes. And of course I got those at Whole Foods, which, you know, was not cheap, but that's what I had today. That's the time I had today, was to go to Whole Foods. So anyway, I'm going to split these in half lengthwise. And again, they are really nicely done. They're done in the middle, and we're just going to split these in half. I love this color, this nice purple potato color. Some people are like, ew, purple potatoes, but I love the color, and they really do taste pretty much the same. But they kind of split these in half, kind of in the lengthwise. And when these are done, the sausage is done, we're actually going to drain most of the oil, and we're going to add the potatoes to coat. And then we are going to get them arranged in the little gratin dishes. which I'm very happy to finally have. I have little custard dishes that I'll show you that are more like this size, but they really are not big enough for a gratin. And one year I asked my mother-in-law to give me dishes, and I gave her the wrong size, so I have a lot of those. But what I really wanted was this size, which is this size, and it's really cute. These are little individual gratin dishes, and I'm gonna load up the sausage and the potatoes, and then top with the cheese at the end, and then they're gonna cook individually, kind of on a pan in the oven, and they're gonna brown off and be beautiful. So anyway, so we're gonna take a look at my sausage here and see where we are. And again, this is Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine. We are making baked raclette, which is a recipe from Ina Garten's Modern Comfort Food, which is her recent cookbook. It just arrived at the library a couple of months ago. It's been very popular. I grabbed it last week, and because I wanted to cook from this particular cookbook for our cookbook club, which is tonight. We're doing Mystery Date with a cookbook. If I have any of my cookbook club members who are watching, I would love for you all to chime in and tell me what you cooked from, so we can tell everybody what you cooked and what cookbook you cooked from this month. I know sometimes Liz is here, and sometimes Carol Seeloss is here, and Mary Jones. So if you are here, let us know what you cooked from. There are, like I said, there were some really great cookbooks that are new to the library. And again, we are happy if you don't know what to order. Give us a call. The library is happy to put together a bundle of books if you just want to tell us what you like and what you're interested in. We will put stuff together. You don't actually have to search in the catalog. You can just say, Mary, I like cookbooks that do this, or I like fiction that does this, or I like mysteries that do this. And we are happy to put that together. We know this is a difficult time when people can't come and browse the shelves. And so I am happy to, and so are my colleagues, happy to put together some book bundles. And I'm saying that to everybody. That's not just for, one or two people. You can definitely call us. We're happy to help. And we're also happy to show you how to use the online catalog and find the things that you're really interested in. Okay, so back to what we're doing here. Again, I have cut up all of my fingerling potatoes. Again, the reason they are fingered because they look like fingers. Fingerling potatoes are French, and they're more. They find their way into a lot of French dishes, which is probably why Ina Garten uses them so much, because she loves her French food, and so we are using those for this baked raclette, which is kind of a French and Swiss comfort food, or as she calls it, kind of peasant food. It's basic, simple, and really yummy. So it's basically potato, sausage, and cheese, which, you can't get any better than that. So we are getting close to this being done. The only other things we're going to put in this is some wine. This is about 1/3 of a cup of dry white wine, some salt and pepper, and then on the top is going to be some thyme. My thyme plant, I had been snipping from, as many of you know, forever, and it finally, just went dormant and just said, no more, Mary. So I actually had to buy my own fresh thyme today. It killed me, but I wanted to have fresh thyme for the top of my baked raclette. So we are getting to having these almost completely done. And I am going to drain off most of this oil because we don't want these to be too oily. We've got cheese coming, so we don't need that much grease. The only person that needs that much grease in their diet is my dog, and he loves it, but I could definitely do without all that grease. So we're going to finish this up and then we're going to drain this. So I'm going to get something to drain this with. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to take a big spoon, and I'm going to start again. This is almost ready. I'm going to take a look up. We still have a little bit of pinkness here in the middle, so we're going to work on this a little bit longer. I'm going to cut these in half to see where they are, but I think we are getting close. And then we're going to combine everything, and we are going to get them in our little gratin dishes that I'm so happy about. Of course, little gratin dishes, you can actually do potatoes au gratin. You can do mini macaroni and cheeses in them. Again, they are so cute. I don't know why I like them so much, but you could put a lot of different things and then just bake these off. And then, like if you were having a party, you know, whenever we actually get to have parties again, you could do individual ones for all of your guests. Okay, so I'm just going to start to drain some of this grease, and then we'll be ready when all of these go finally, they get completely browned on the inside. So I'm just going to drain off a good chunk of this oil. We really don't need much. I mean, there's great flavor in the oil, but you know how it is when something is just a little too greasy, it just sits in the bottom of your stomach and I guess there is such a thing as too much grease for my dog, and I guess he tells us when we've given him too much grease, but most of the time he's like, I'm all for it. So I'm basically taking most of the grease off. You know, I'm leaving maybe a tablespoon here, but the rest I'm just sticking in this little, just taking that off. Okay, so this is pretty much cooked now, and what we're going to do is, I'm just going to check my recipe here. We basically cooked these till browned. We drained all but a tablespoon, and now we're going to add the potatoes, and we're going to toss to combine with the chorizo and the fat. All right, so we're going to add these in. And I'm going to be, careful. I'm not going to be really hard on these potatoes because they are cooked. And we're just going to kind of stir to combine. Make sure that you get the sausage and the sausage oil nicely mixed with your potatoes. Again, I'm using these fingerling potatoes. I'm using kind of a metally, so there's some purple ones in here, which are kind of freaky, but I really like the colors. And there's one that's kind of a rose colored that almost looks like a red potato, and then just like a regular, almost like a Yukon Gold. Okay, so this is all combined. I have now so you can kind of see how pretty that is. We've turned off the heat, and then the next thing we're going to do is add the wine, a teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of pepper. So again, this is just a third of a cup of dry white wine. You're not cooking it, you're just kind of adding some flavor. Eventually this will all cook out in the gratins, but it should add some nice flavor. Again, a half a teaspoon of pepper. I just use freshly ground pepper. And a teaspoon of salt. You don't need a ton of salt just because there's salt in the sausage, there's salt in the cheese. Okay, so we're just going to continue to stir these to combine. We have the sausage, we have a little bit of wine, we have salt and pepper, and we have this sausage. Again, I am using a sweet Italian mild sausage just because I think my family is more inclined to like this better than the chorizo, but if you like the hot, go for it. Okay, so again, we're just going to I am my own temp. I have 4 of them. I'm so excited. Like I said, I'm very excited about them. And I am going to fill them with are the potato and the sausage mixture. So I'm just going to kind of add these to the different dishes here, along with just kind of evenly put together the sausage and the potatoes in each of the gratins. And then we're going to top them with the raclette cheese. And I have already sliced that, so you'll see how that looks. And then we're going to pop them in the oven. It's a really hot oven, but not for very long. It's like 10 minutes at 450. And it should melt and be ooey and gooey and delicious. So again, we are just adding the sausage, the potatoes, it's a little bit of wine and salt and pepper. And again, this is a really simple dish. This is comfort food. This is what the Swiss might have, and I think they still do. It's one of those things where they do, and they probably think of home, or they think of, maybe the fall, because I have heard that this is kind of a fall dish for the French and the Swiss. And my guess is it makes them think of comforting things. I'm just gonna, as I'm finishing this up. Also, I'd love to hear what are your go-to comfort foods? I mean, this is for the French, but we as Americans, what are your things? Is it mac and cheese? Is it, my sister and I, her actual comfort food, it's not really mine, but she loves, my mom used to like saute hot dogs in ketchup. And that for her, she's told me that's her ultimate comfort food. So I'm just actually going to drizzle this kind of wine sauce over all of these kind of evenly, and so that everybody gets all the nice, wonderful flavors here, and make sure that the wine is evenly. So anyway, I've got these all done now. I'm going to show you. This is the raclette cheese. And again, this was just in a block, and it's going to melt really nicely. So I'm just going to kind of drape these over the top. These are going to melt really easily. As I said, they tend not to, it doesn't separate. It's actually a really nice, creamy, melty cheese. And I love the flavor. Okay, so these are going to get popped in the oven, and we are going maybe about 10 minutes. I will share the recipe with you on this Facebook Live. I just wanted to see. It looked like there were a couple of people that made some comments. Mary Jones talked about she did a Filipino American cookbook. That's great. I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to say. And talk about her recipes. She said she can't spell the name, but it is an oven roasted chicken with tamarind soup mix. Oh, I can't wait. So anyway, the last thing we're going to do to these little gratins is we're going to sprinkle. Actually, let me make sure. This may be afterwards. Yes. Don't put this on yet. This will go on later. And the other thing that this calls for, which I did not have, are little gherkins. Ina Garten calls them corchons. I think that's kind of a fancy way of saying, little gherkin, sweet gherkin pickles. I could not find them today, and I did not have them on my shelf. But that's supposed to be served with this after you cook it. She recommends a big crusty loaf of French bread, which I actually also got, and kind of a nice green salad, which we're going to have as well. So again, seems like a really nice a cold weather thing to have. This may be our last really cold weather day for a little while, because tomorrow it's supposed to be 60. Yay. So this seems like a perfect thing to have on kind of a 40-degree or so day. So anyway, that is Kickin' Cooking for this week. Again, I did baked raclette. I will include the final product as well as the recipe. This is from Ina Garten's Modern Comfort Food.